Perfect. Okay, I think we should start. Cool. So my name is Christophe Lautrette, and instead of talking about myself, I did a really quick slide. It's going to take 10 minutes, and you'll know all about me. I would be like naked in front of you. Okay, so I was born a long time ago in the city of Paris. My parents were a bunch of hippies at the time, and they grew tired of the weather in Paris, and that's the truth. It was raining all the time, and my father was, liked to fish, and he was a photographer, so he was like done with that shit. They packed up everything, and they moved to south of France in the city of Toulouse, which is a beautiful city. It's called the Pink City because at sunset, you get all of that sunset hitting the building that, and it looks beautiful. But actually, we were living on the countryside of that, not really in a city, and that was more like that, actually. Really isolated. We went to the city once in a while, but and I'm glad I grew up in the countryside because I think my style has changed. I mean, if we would have stayed in Paris, I think I would have done something different. But the fact that I was closer to nature, just made me more organic with my work. So it's funny where your background is, can almost dictate, what your future will be. It's really interesting. The good thing about the South is, every Wednesday we were like picking up the wine. It's kind of a cliche, but it was true. It was fun to do that on Wednesday. School was boring, but I like to draw and paint. So I went to an art school when I was 15. It was a boarding school in Toulouse. So from 15 to 18, where I learned, nothing about animation, like the opposite, just boring stuff, But nonetheless, the opportunity of drawing and not being punished for that was great. That's the alibi of an art school. You can actually draw and be inspired by your peers. But what I wanted to do was animation, so I applied for the Gobelins school in Paris, which is an animation school. I did 2 years of that. That's a beautiful school in Paris. I wanted to be an animator. That was my dream. So over there I learned the basic of animation. And then I was 21, I got hired at Disney Animation to work on a movie called The Goofy Movie at the time. And then The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But I hated it, Ta-da. Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I don't think I was ready for it, and Disney was suddenly a big corporation, and, from the school where I was kind of free and doing whatever I wanted and, being creative, suddenly I kind of hit a wall of, what the hell is that, like, regimented, thing, So before I became cuckoo, I left and I signed up for, my teacher at the time at the Goblin opened a company. And over there, we did a lot of commercials and short movie. So it was kind of going, like from going up, like right away at Disney. I felt like, so I left Disney, I quit Disney, and I signed up with him. And it was the perfect place to be. Yeah, it's supposed to be a joke. So thank you for the love. Then I took the plane and went to the US in '96. For Hollywood, where I got hired, by DreamWorks, and I did about 15 movies over there. I was there for about 21 years. So those are the main movies I did, but there's definitely way more that never saw the light, of course, as you can imagine. Movie making is like that, So going back really fast to the switch, that's something, and that's kind of the reason I show you that part of my life is, don't get stuck into like the big studio or, there's other route. There's specifically nowadays, there's so much other stuff to do, working for a big company has a certain set of rules and, you have to be ready for those rules, for sure. So I was delighted that I could do, that company that gave me basically it's not the power, it's just give me do you want me to show you what I've done over there? It's really stupid. Like I've done short. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to leave the room right after, you're welcome. It's really down, but it was my thing, Oh, okay, so yeah, sorry about that. So I did 30 of those, and it was just for kids. It was really cute moral at the end, like, don't show your butt. But Canal Plus at the time, the main channel in France, they like it, and they asked for more. I was like, really? But that thing, gave me, the kind of security or like incentive to jump back in a big company. So when I went to DreamWorks, after that, I was like more confident. I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't care about anything, and I think that's the main key. So I'm going to kill this one. We're done with my life. And today, so the topic is, oh, that's not the one allocation. Yeah, I open a lot of different windows because sometimes, according to the time that I have, I jump from one thing to another. Hold on. Where's my thing? Where's my window? This one. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's how we start an animated movie. So before we do what you guys see and what you guys like, all the prints that you bought today, and all the art of, basically everything you see in the art of, so those kind of really cool, beautiful images, even character design, even before that, when we start the show, I start from that, which is boring. So I'm not going to read all of that, but basically what I try to do right from the start is, so basically you just need a sketchbook. You don't need anything else, as a production designer or art director. I basically try to take notes of what the movie is going to be. So what kind of identity is the movie? I'm going to spend about 4 years of my life on this show. I better understand what I'm going to do, and I better sell it to the company as well. Usually when I start a movie like that, when a production is gonna start, the movie is not yet green-lighted. It's not yet green light. It takes a minute to get a green light on a movie. It takes a big presentation, and that's what I'm going to show you today. But at the start, what I do is I don't even read the script. I used to, I don't anymore. I don't care about the script, And I said that only because the script changes all the time. The story changes, sometimes the director changes, and what you think will be settled in stone is not, And the story changed the 4 years of production. Even 2 months before the release, we're still rewriting the show. So it's gnarly, So I'd rather talk with the director. That's what I do. I have coffee with the directors. I take notes, that stuff. And that's it. I'm digging the brain of the directors or the many directors. And I'm trying to make an ally to that, with that guy. And because we're going to spend, the rest of our life together, making a movie. And we have differences, So I try to understand their brain, and they also try to understand me, meaning that I bring something on the table that maybe they haven't think about. As visual artists, we have a different twisted mind that sometimes writers or directors or producers don't understand, So don't think that you are at the mercy of the directors, I don't work like that. And if it was like that, I wouldn't sign up, And so the start will be like when I left DreamWorks in 2015. They asked me like, is there anything you would like to talk to, the people, the student, or something that's really important for you that you remember and everything? And I said, well, I think the main important thing was the choice and vision, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So the choices is basically when you start a project, you have to make conscious decision. So I'm going to read that. Like, it's important to make strong visual choices to illustrate the story and to find a personal angle. Choice dictate the boundaries of the movies. Beyond those limits, it is not the show anymore. Okay, and it's really easy to drift. And drifting, when you have so many people working for you, is difficult. You better keep your movie on track. Otherwise, it's difficult. And where I'm leading with that is basically that starting a movie and doing the style guide is easy, meaning that your choice that you make have to be easy choices. The choices that you make, cannot be everything about movie making or all the drawings or everything you've done for 20 years of your life. is the opposite. You pick rules and you stick to those rules. And if you have like 4 rules or 5 rules, that's it. The less rules you have for your movie, the better the movie is. Okay, and the more people remember the movie because it's obvious. So, for example, The Godfather is not an animated movie, but the movie was shot in black, white, and red. High contrast of black. The black and white, is the meaning of the mafia, and the red is the blood that has been spilled, through those mafia battle. Okay, that was kind of the theme of the show, and it is so strong that they shot a full movie like that, but it's also on the poster. So when you look at the poster underneath, I cannot point at it, but underneath, you see that the poster was already giving you the rules of the game. It's going to be black, white, and red. Okay, simple, but easy to understand for the audience. Never go for something complicated. Okay, and of course you don't kind of realize that when you look at it, but it is there. Oh, what did I do? So when we make the crude, we decided right away that it was an organic, cartoony, kind of colorful, topsy-turvy, made-up world with hybrids animals. I didn't want to do Jurassic animal, T-Rex, or anything like that. I thought that it had been done already. And I'm from France, south of France, where there's a lot of cave. People are really big on that. And I'm like, I'm going to make mistake, and people are going to, I won't be able to go back to France ever again, So I like, for the sake of controlling my show, I decided to go for a style that I can really control. That's why I wanted something really funny and organic and weird plant. I was like, that era never existed, but could exist if I put it on a movie. And it wasn't easy. It was a battle. I had to battle the directors on this one. It was a big director, it's Chris Sanders, but we had moments, for sure, because he wanted something to be different. And I said, no. That's what we are going to do. And when you argue like that, then you put the studio, in the loop, and they kind of decide, So the studio kind of supported the show being organic and topsy-turvy and fun, on this one. So which was great. I thought there was a question on the back or no? No? Okay. On the same thing, the world of How to Train Your Dragon is gigantic and overwhelming with giant trees and huge cliffs. So all of that, so I didn't do this one. It was a friend of mine who did the production design. But the full movie is kind of based on the vertical, Everything is tall, really tall and kind of gigantic. And it's the memory of childhood from adulthood, following the theme of the show, the passage from teenager to adult. So so this particular movie, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. I will explain some stuff. They spent 4 years, struggling on that show only because they didn't have the theme of the show. And when they cracked the theme, everything went super quick, So having the theme of the show is always super important, The production designer, so I worked with that guy. That production designer was great, but he told me, when he did Minority Report, the choices that he made was, so you see on the left you have the precog eyes. Those are the characters that are really driving the show, and so the girl is kind of pale with blue eyes. So the full show is basically in that color. And that's kind of what you remember from that show when you look at it. The full 90 minutes is white and blue. And it's also because it's a futuristic, kind of high tech, But again, one single choice, the blue color, the white and blue is basically what Minority Report is. So the guy didn't try to go in every direction, and of course there's a lot of production design involved, but at the end we all remember that color. There's some movies where you don't even have to give the name. I don't have to write the title for you guys to know what it is, because the production design and the cinematography is so strong. Here the colors are different. Nonetheless, the production design, the composition is what kind of links everything together, And you can definitely see that, everything works. Yeah, it's homogeneous, and that's really what we need to do at the start of a show. You can choose to be black and white. Again, if you do black and white, then your movie will pop as, something quite different. Here it's black and white and it's square format as well. Okay. Talking of square, the Grand Budapest Hotel. Again, strong choice, easy one. Just, the poster is that kind of square. building, colorful, pink, and everything is like that. The show is composed in a square, composition, and every sequence has its own color. You have the blue sequence, the pink sequence, the other sequence, and that makes just stronger movies at the end. It's funny, but that's what it is, When you see a movie that doesn't have anything like that, you can tell that whether they're more junior people and they wanted to put everything, too much of it, and then at the end everything gets diluted. But stronger production designer will definitely try to narrow down to the core of what the movie should be. Did you have a question? Yeah, you good? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. For sure, the story, dictate usually everything. Story first, character second, and then production designs kind of follow. For that particular one, I mean, the production designer and the directors are almost the same, or maybe the same. Like he's so big on the production design, the director, that I think he does everything himself. So the pink color is a color that's kind of recurrent for him, and me, what I use the pink is for that you'll have to build your color keys. We'll talk about all of that, but during your color keys, this is where you're going to pick your color, and you're going to do like a map of where your colors occur according to the emotional arc of the story. So usually after like a year and a half, 2 years after the production, I usually talk to the directors and I say, okay, now it's time now that the story is a bit more settled. You need to give me the emotional arc. So they give me the high and the low only on the story, and me, I will kind of replace that with my images. So I will know that this is high contrast, whatever, because something good happen, and on the opposite, on the low, I will have desaturated palette and so forth. So yeah, the emotional arc is great for that. Yeah. So the vision, I put the vision because also according to your question, you're like, how do you make those choices? Well. For some people, it's obvious. It's what I call the vision. Like it's guttural. It's in your guts. You cannot even explain it. And I took the example of Tim Burton because I like that first image over there on the left where he's looking at Johnny Depp, in Edward Scissorhands, but he's kind of looking at himself. They're basically looking exactly the same, same haircut, And the second image of the skeleton, that you see, that was him when he was a kid in Halloween. And close to it, you have Jack Skeleton that he did like 30 years down the road. And that guy couldn't separate himself from his art, like it's just an extension of himself. That's why I called it the vision, because it's basically, there's no reasoning for it. You have it in you. That's what you want to put on the paper. And that's completely valid, there's other technique, Terry Gilliam is another one where it's more about erudition and knowledge. So reading a lot of books, watching a lot of movies, and everything that you've seen kind of comes back together, and into a single image, basically, So like the painting that he liked, from Jerome, when he built the bathtub with all of those women, it's basically the same lighting, same setup. So that is just a different vision, But of course, you guys can crack your thing, where would you pick something, from the other. So that leads us to the style guide, and the style guide is basically everything, So I'm going to jump into that. Let's kill this one. And the first one I'm going to do with you guys is the cruise, because I spent 4 years of my life on this one. Before I start, do you guys have any other questions? Yeah. So for storyboarder, it's different. I don't do storyboard. I do the production design. I think for a storyboarder, the script would be more important, for sure. I just don't like the script because it's too much. It's too much information when I start a movie, and I need actually less information. Again, because I'm trying to find simple stuff. For the storyboard, yeah, they will work closely with the directors. and they will follow the script, but the storyboarder can also inject a lot of their personal stuff. Even like dialogues can be made up by the storyboarder. So they have a lot of freedom as well. They can change an entire sequence if it makes more sense. Sorry. You'll always get a script, I think. Again, I think it depends. If you're lead storyboarder, you're the head of storyboard, you'll get the script. Maybe if you're not and you're part of the storyboard team, then the lead will tell you about the sequence, and maybe you don't need to read the script. Maybe he will tell you, that sequence is that and that and that. So it also depends at which level, but I think they will be closer to the storytelling than I am. Me, I'm trying to put images, to make it pretty. That's it. Cool. So the crude, I'm not going to explain everything. It's really complex, but I wanted to bring you the real material, like that you see how we do it, So here we are. The first thing I do is, I ask for the theme of the show, what kind of theme it is, And the director, told me a family that grows together, stays together. I was like, all right, I'll take that. I'll take anything at this point, And then I start to write. So all the notes that you saw on my sketchbook is basically, I'm starting to type them at this point, and I'm basically starting to narrow down the choices, I'm like, okay, so that movie is going to be set in a remarkable period at the time of creation. Time between time. It's an era that nobody, knew existed until now. Earth is really, really volatile. As it grows, Mother Nature is exploring all the possibilities. I'm basically explaining my vision. This is a world where meteor showers and volcanoes and earthquakes are the norms. Sunflowers are as big as redwoods. The creatures of this world are the bizarre link between the animals from the distant past and what we know today. It is truly a brave new world. And again, all of that is going to, so you don't have to draw a paint right away. Just make sure that you write things that are good for you. On this one particularly, I wanted to work with an inspiration, and this is Carlos Nine, who's from Argentina, and you see his work on the left. What I like about it was, I love his work. So first of all, I love his work, and I kind of draw in the same genre, and I like the fact that it's really deformed, it's really exaggerated, but it's still really dimensional, and that was cool. So that was the demand of the hour. What I'm going to do? I'm going to exit. Sorry, like that I can zoom in. Okay, so that's his work, right here, and I started to look at it, really carefully, and trying to, to study it and to see how I can apply it, for that movie. But Carlos Nina's artistic style is a great source of inspiration. Its bold, organic shape and language define the concept, really organic. It feels like the world is really alive and in a constant motion. And I did that as well because, again, there was no bad guys in the cruise. There was no nemesis beside the Earth and the Pangea coming to an end, So I'm like, I need to feel like the world is kind of racing after them. So I'm going to need that the trees feel like alive, that they feel like people, that's why I didn't want any straight lines or anything like that. Everything needed to feel like humans almost, So that's more work from the guy. So here, again, I'm studying a bit more. I said that Carlos Nine design have a lot of contrast. That's what I wanted. Thick against thin, large and small, busy and clear, negative and positive space. They also feel unbalanced, whimsical and asymmetrical. And those shapes, like I said, are not flat. They're really three-dimensional. I didn't want to have something from the 50s or where you cannot turn around, There was a tendency at DreamWorks to do those kind of movies in the past. And I'm like, no, even if it's cartoony, you can do something that's really, you can turn around. It's going to be a 3D movie, okay? So they appear three-dimensional. You can touch them and, and light them specifically. Light is really important. So from there, again, I went even closer to everything. Looked at that stuff really carefully. Organic shape, thick, thin, busy, clear, big mass. Like, for example, this one was great. It's really abstract, like it doesn't look like anything, but nonetheless, I'm finding a lot of rules through it. Like this is a large mass that takes a lot of the composition. Negative space right here. Everything is completely skewed. And again, playful shape, uneven size, and doesn't look like it, but I'm taking notes at this point and kind of know where I'm going at this point, with that kind of stuff. I looked at more influences as well. Alberto Breccia from Brazil, I think. That was kind of drawing in the same family, organic shape, organic, dark against light, looking at stuff that already exists that kind of works in the same paradigm, composition in the diagonal right here, like a big mass right here that takes kind of a big percentage of the image, whimsical, organic shape. So I basically started to find, stuff that kind of work in the idea, So I start at this point, this is where you start to be creative. Okay, so you're done writing, but you're not showing anything to the company, to the studio yet. That's the thing, So the good thing about the crudes is at the start, what I did is I did ask about 3 months where they can leave me alone. I said, leave me alone, don't talk to me. I had one artist, Dominique Louis, who was great, worked on Ratatouille and, those kind of movies. Was at Pixar for many years. So together we kind of did a lot of stuff, and I'll show you what we did. But I got the trust from the producers. I said, I need to dig into something, and I need a bit of time. If you want something different, I need to carve it. So if you give me 3 months, and just wait, I'm coming with something. But at the beginning, I started with stuff that were quite simple, just doodles. So but already I'm already trying to set up all the stuff that I study. Okay, so the big shape on the back, whimsical, negative space, diagonal composition, weird vegetation, feels pregnant, feels really alive. I'm trying to get acquainted with the style that I'm imposing to myself, basically right here. Like the difference of size, contrast, big mass right here. And, and they basically all have the same component. So I kept going, but I went slightly deeper, slightly more, fancy composition, negative space, big things on the back, weird stuff, the big boulder that takes about 30% of the composition, negative space, whimsical. So at this point, my point is to repeat myself almost. Like I'm going to start to get to be a broken record, because when I establish my rules, that's what I want the movie to look like. And I'm not going to go beyond that, I went into, the arboretum as well, took some photos of trees and stuff that kind of exist, and I can work into the stem stylization right here. And of course, Mother Nature, created everything. So when you think you're smart, well, you're not that smart, and that was it for kind of the drawing, before we went further, and I'll show you that. I also did the same. So when you do your style guide should include, the design, the composition, the color, character design, texture, surfacing, as much as you can. So that was my first style guide, it's about 30 pages. And the movie that I'm working on right now for Paramount, I did 64 pages of it, so it's really deep. Like it's, I try to give every single thing that's coming, I make sure that the studio understand it, and we hold hands together, and, that's what I'm trying to do. Make sure that they don't change their mind in the middle of it, And the style guide is the alibi for me. So layout composition, I'm not going to read everything, but there was a place for it as well. And same thing, I'm trying to find the rules for that, for the composition. So the perspective, I always wanted to have, a lot of 1-point perspective down or up. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so that was a book. So I'm not developing the composition in the vertical here. I'm just actually stealing rules from a book that a guy did, so that's why it's vertical. And I explain on the bottom, what the rule is that I'm going to apply for the show, But for sure, horizontal will be the way to go. And all the images that we did after are horizontal, But all of those images are from the same book, basically. And I was like, he has so many stuff that are applicable. So the first one, was a one-point perspective where you don't see the bottom. So that stuff was important for me because the movie was a bit cartoony. However, I didn't want to lose the sense of pathos. I wanted to make sure that if the characters fall into a pit, they die. Okay? It's not like them bouncing on the floor, and because otherwise you're like, oh, so it's safe. It's a safe movie. Like for 90 minutes, whatever happened will be safe. No, I really wanted to make sure like there's some dangerous place and you can die, That's why perspective and that was super important. What was really important as well is that image right here that doesn't look like nothing. But I saw that's different planes, The different planes right here. So, was good for me because I didn't want the show to be on the flat. I wanted the camera to be super active. And also it was a disconnected family. That's what I knew from the directors without knowing too much about the stories. If it's a disconnected family, I wanted to make sure like they are not always on the same plane. And eventually they will go together, when they get together. And also Ip, the teenager, for people who have seen the movie, she's a really active teenager. So she's not on the same plane as the other people. She has her own route. Okay. So that stuff was really important for me. Camera tilt, composition in the diagonal, I use that all the time. Here the same thing, like different plane for different action. And the use of the big mass right here, that takes 30 or 50% of the composition. I use it otherwise. That stuff, when you use a big element like that, is what I call screen division. It's basically, it's easy to put your character somewhere because something takes so much room that it tucked your characters somewhere. So, and it's also a good way not having too much details everywhere. So you take something really big and it's almost in the middle of your image. And I like it because I don't like getting lost in details again. And again, right now, everything feels like just theory, but I will apply that really soon. Lots of contrast again, composition in diagonal, different staging place, the use of that, the tractor is basically helping that really intimate family right here. This one I call it chaos. Chaos was a good one for Croods, meaning that if the characters were not moving here, you wouldn't see them almost, and they were blending with the environment. And we use that, meaning that there's a sequence that I'm going to show you where the characters are, there's a giant beast who's hiding in the forest and it's already there. It's just merging and you only spot it when it moves. So I use that rule as well. And this one you've seen that. I'm going to accelerate a bit. I use, other inspiration from sci-fi movie. Those were great for the void, again, the crevasses, that the ground was really unstable. It was really cool. Looked at more reference to make my point in the composition. Composition in the diagonal right here. Big mass right here. And I go on and on. Like the void. Everything. So basically everything that I've cracked. And then so at this point, it's time to illustrate it. Okay, now the party's over. You basically know where you're going with that. You're still not showing to the company. You're still investigating, and you have maybe more people that are coming to your show. You can start to also cast artists that are, more in the style of what you want the show to be. And then we started. So this one was one of the first images that we did at the start, and it has everything, like hybrid animal, unstable ground. It has negative space right here, a big boulder right here that takes a lot of the composition, and the composition in the diagonal, foreign plants, and all of those kind of weird volcano and everything like coming together at the same time to make sure like the world was really active and really alive. So I'm trying to prove my point at this point, when I'm starting. And all of those images are that. So at this point, I'm going also further, putting characters, but, applying all of those rules that I've found, and even ground, crevasses, unique vegetation. Those trees are basically the same thing as the small doodles that I've, did at the beginning. plants on steroid. We didn't do this one that much because the directors were scared that it was too much like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, so that kind of reverse thing. So we didn't use that, that much. Crevasses, unstable ground, composition right here. Composition in the diagonal right here. Use of a big mass. And like, again, that I like that as well. Like, I didn't want the conversation to always happen on the ground, so I'm like, maybe they're using an animal, and I'm illustrating it, trying to make my points, But all of those are absolutely, you don't see them in a movie. They're not even relevant to the story, or even the script. But it doesn't matter for me because what I'm trying to do is to create a world that has the flavor of it or the energy. And again, I haven't sold it yet to the company, I don't know if they're going to like that, but at least I'm challenging myself and I'm going to challenge them, negative space and so forth. And I kept going, with more, and better images, that are still part of my style guide, bold and heavy shape, natural bridges. Here I use a technique that I use almost all the time. It's called reverse perspective. It's basically what's on the back is bigger than what's on the front, which usually is the opposite, of course. If you put your hand right here, it's bigger than, But I do that because it doubles the scale of everything. Now if I put the waterfall on the back bigger than the rock, it feels like a giant waterfall on the back, and it does look like that. But again, all the same rules apply. Composition in the diagonal, hybrid animals, same, again and again and again, So yeah, it's going to be boring at one point. One of the last piece we did, okay, that has all the same component. Scary forest feels grand and overpowering. The shapes are unfamiliar, organic, and twisted. However strange, we should feel that we are on planet Earth, not an alien world. We had that problem at one point. I felt like the directors was like, maybe you're going too far and it feels like a different planet. So for that, it was really easy. You just put some palm trees once in a while, and you kind of know the planet Earth. Yeah. No, I'm doing it at the same time. Yeah. They actually don't look like the movie right now. They have the flavor of it. But at the beginning, it was a tribe. It wasn't a family. It was a full tribe. The movie evolved tremendously. But I hired Carter Goodrich on the show. I gave him the flavor of it, and I said, just go cuckoo with it, He was familiar with the artist that I picked originally, so that was a good grounding for him. Because, of course, you can go any direction, The idea is not to go any direction, it's actually to go to one direction. Yeah. And that one was of the last image that I did, putting everything together as well, being epic and dramatic and funky, and, and Dominique, that was working with, did that image with the colors. And so we felt like we had something. I'm like, something's happening, that's pretty cool, So after doing that, I basically, where's my step? Yeah, so after that, it was my time to pitch the movie, pitch the presentation to the company. So I pitched the style guide to the CEO of the company at the time, the producers, the directors, and I also did a quick slideshow with music, which I'm going to show you right now. Maybe this, is it possible to bring the light down a little bit, or if there's anybody? Or? Yeah, we can't. Okay, that's cool. No worries. No worries. So there's the air conditioning, no? That? Worse. All right, we tried. Okay, let's play. Cool. Thank you, guys. So the style guide plus that was enough to get the trust from the company, and then they got the money to make the movie, because of course they are holding the bank and they want to make sure like the money will come back to them, and they better believe in the show that you're presenting. So I usually do that, so I don't go beyond a slideshow with music. I like doing that because it doesn't involve too much thing. I don't need any 3D. I don't need anything at this point. It's just images, because if it doesn't go well, I don't want to spend too much energy either on it, So that's kind of for me the minimum to put everybody in the in the loop and say, do you like the flavor of that? If you like the flavor of that thing and the style guide is good for you, then we can start. Basically. There you go. Cool. So what time is it? It's 5:12. I'm only have until 6, and I have a lot to show you. So I wanted to show you how we made one sequence for the crudes, but I wonder if I should jump on Kung Fu Panda really fast. Oh, something that's really important. Yeah, it's a bit boring, but it's really important. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that means that they, that maybe you the right cast for it, because you might not be, that the directors trust you, that and at this point you can really start to hire your team. So the company invests more money to hire in all the storyboarder, the art team, the everybody who's going to make the movie, and also for me, so something I wouldn't do, for example, is I would get hired for a movie and start to draw stuff and say, "That do you like that?" And try to, that's why for me the style guide is so important, because I don't have to do that movie. I don't have to work for that company either, and I don't want to be sick for the next 4 years if it's not something I like to do either, and I want to make sure we all understanding each other, so that's what I call the rules of the game, like what kind of game I'm going to play with you guys, so that's why I do that. And it's also because for 4 years on the production, I'm going to work with a lot of people, like, I don't know, like 500 people, in different countries nowadays on Zoom, so you better understand your movie. So if you don't do that stage right here, and you just present an image, and, you need to know exactly what you're going to do, because you need to help everybody to come up with the same style, same look, and, bring them to the same navigating all together, so that's why that stage is extremely important for me. When I'm done with that, I'm kind of done, with the movie. I just make the movie, but I don't have to debate, I don't have to resell that to the directors. And sometimes you do. When it's really complex, when your style guide is really complex, sometimes they like it, but they have no idea. They haven't understand anything. You think they did, but they haven't looked at it really. They were just like that on the phone. And, it's weird. It's a weird world, and sometimes up there, in the executive level, and sometimes they change their mind. And when they change their mind, then you don't have to say, I don't want to do something else. That's what I wanted to do. That happened on cruise. Chris Sanders went to help How to Train Your Dragon for about almost a year. I had to put that on pause, all of that and all the pieces, And when he came back, he's like, I want something different. I want, real Jurassic T-Rex and everything. I'm like, dude, we talked about it. I gave you a presentation. We agreed on that. You agreed on that. You signed up, basically. So what are you changing the fucking mind right now, and it was a battle. I had to bring the company, I had to bring the studio in the loop. I said, let the studio decide that, if they don't want that, that's fine. I'm fine with it. But, I won't do something I don't want to do. Let's make the combat. The quick question. No, that's not that. I mean, this is that, but starting here. Okay, so, here are the production design principle. Revealing the character. And that's what is important. It's basically, how do we why do we design stuff the way it is and everything? Well, this is an example. When your character, for example, here the character was cracked. You see Poe on the left. We already had Jack Black for the voice, which was great to design the character with the voice. When Jack Black came into the show, I was like, okay, I understand what the character will be. I understand the personality. So we kind of cracked the character really fast. And then the character was so strong, and it was really the story of Poe, who's an overweight panda trying to do kung fu. Okay, so you already have a bit of humor right here. Then I know what I'm going to do for the environment. The environment is based on Poe. When I did the Jade Temple that you see right here, I put like thousands of stairs only because for Poe it's going to be a drag for him every morning to go to see Shifu. I don't remember that character. On top, and so there will be a comedic aspect of him climbing the stairs every morning with his overweight, I could have put it on the ground, but the comedic, wouldn't have been there. So you design also the environment according to your characters, to the storytelling, It's not just a pretty building, it's also, there's a meaning to it, For cruise, so the tree that you see on top, that's the cruise environment at the beginning of the show. And you are in that environment for about 15 minutes. Then they have to abandon and they jump into the cliff. They run into a place that it's unknown for them and they have to survive. So everything about their environment looks like them. They're comfortable in that environment. Everything is morphing together. So I'm limiting myself with, ochre, brown, sienna colors, meaning that I'm removing every blue, green color from on the screen for at least 15 minutes. And by the way, colors for the eyes is an easy trick. If I take a color away for more than 3 or 4 minutes, when it pops, it's going to be a shock for your eyes. So I knew that for 50 minutes, if I remove the blue and the green, when they fall into the green, that color is going to be spectacular for your eyes, basically. Yeah. So that's why I did that contrast of environment right here. Extension of characters' inner life. The production designer who did the dragons, could have done a village close to the, to the reef and everything. But the dragons are flying. It's a movie about dragons, and they are flying. So you can imagine that the camera is going to go up and down constantly, and it's a ride. You're dealing with a ride show right here. So the village was put into like a higher cliff, where you see all the mountains and the iceberg on the back are also leaning towards the ocean. Okay, that wasn't like that originally. The first production designer did a really cute fisherman village. When POV, that's his name, the production designer, took over, since he was dealing with Viking and dragons, everything was leaning towards the ocean because they were discoverers, and the village will be higher will allow the camera to go up and down as well. So that was one of his rules, in his style guide. Totoro, fits his cave. That's Totoro's cave, and Totoro are basically merging all together. It makes sense for Totoro to sleep in that environment. That was Megamind. Megamind was like a really a character that was really intelligent and really full of himself. So the environment where he sleeps reveals all of that. He has tons of books. He lives in a library. He sleeps actually in a library, to acquire all the knowledge. And his egomaniac thing, we put like a tank with a white shark on top of it, above his bed, just to reveal how megalomaniac that guy is and how sick, his mind is twisted, And again, so when you get the characters like that are kind of defined, easier to crack, the environment. Story first, character second, and production design. B-movie, everything was about the honey, so the all the factory and everything, just honey, honey, honey. And the camera, again, everything was higher for the camera to go up and down because they are flying animals. So those are the questions I ask myself when I do a show. What is the theme of the show? What the director wants? When was it built? Who built it? Who is it for? What is it for? How does that work? And what is it made of? Those are the main questions for myself. Do you guys have any question on that? Oh, yeah. You're not going to copy it, right? Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, it depends. So for the cruise, I hope I'm going to answer the question correctly. But for the cruise, I told you that my inspiration was Carlos Nine, that guy that I showed you the pictures at the beginning. So I wanted the movie to kind of look like his style. But as a production designer, you can also hire someone that you like, for sure, and where the style is exactly what you think is going to be good for the show. That will make total sense. There's no one way of going, for that. If you like Craig Mullins and that's the style you want, and if you can get him, sweet. Yeah. 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 There's no. Yeah. I mean, everything goes. Everybody's different, from, like I'll show you the reference for dragons, and it was Frazetta base, and Berstadt, and they couldn't get Frazetta. Poor guy was already on the other side. But I think nowadays, yeah, if you can get someone who's really can illustrate the show the way you want, I mean, that's amazing. I never had that, never beside Carter Goodrich, who was really like it was the artist that I felt like could do the job basically, and but yeah, you can do that for sure. Yeah. Me, I like discovering, I like exploring, so that's why I like messing around for a while. Any other question? Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, so to a certain extent, I'm not really, I had some classes from Bruce Block. I don't know if you guys know Bruce Block, but he gave us a lot of cinematography, movie, and there's a lot of rules there that are from him, basically, The eye thing is actually from him, he did some experiment, and we did some experiment, and to trick the eye, so that was one of the things I learned. Other thing like that, no, they are old rules, I think, that you've seen on movies, like division of screen, flat space, deep space. You can start a movie, for example, with a particular color where everything is really saturated, and then the characters, they started to fall apart, and then you desaturate your movie little by little. Those are the kind of rules you need to apply to a style guide and to, you can establish anything you want, chaotic. It's, all in order at the start, and then the war occurs and everything is now really chaotic. The order is really weird, visually. So there's a lot of, if you guys check Bruce Block video, I think there's stuff on YouTube. I mean, the guy is a master on that kind of stuff. Bruce Block. Block. B-L-O-C-K. Yeah. 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 So when I do a style guide, I mean, I add to it usually, on this one I didn't, but there's one that I did for Rumble, the movie called Rumble. I had to do 3 or 4 different style guide, that was adding and subtractive, to make sure like it was kind of what they had in mind. So yeah, it evolves sometime, for sure. Do I change the style guide? No, I don't think I, go from something I have in mind that I work on with artists and everything, and suddenly the directors are like, eh. Add will be like they want more informations, or or you haven't covered some stuff, surfacing, texture, lighting, composition. I mean, like it's maybe something that's a bit loose, or maybe the directors didn't see it like that, so you can, switch some stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't start from scratch. Again, I never done that. I mean, I think I would rather leave. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Okay, so there's 2 different things. I think what I show you is the style guide. Okay, the style guide is more like the anchor of your show. Where we're going, the rules, limitation, and everything. Now you have production. It's different beast. Meaning that if you accept to work on that show, you're okay to go with the ride, and that's a brutal ride. Meaning that sometimes you do sequence that will disappear. If you guys are already in the industry, you know how it is. The rules of the game are like that. You better understand it. If you want to play it. But yeah, I do constantly, changing stuff. Sometimes I work on a sequence for 6 months, a year, and that disappears. It happens all the time, all the time. But that's fine, because as long as we stay in the boundaries of what I established at the beginning, you can change any sequence you want. I don't care. If that makes a better story, great. It's hard work, and it's going to be tough for my team and myself, and but what the worst for me is for them to, when nobody knows where it's going, and that's the worst thing. Now within the production, a lot of changes occurs all the time, but it has to be in the boundaries. Yeah. Someone else? Yep. The screenplay, so I'm not a storyteller, so I try to separate myself a little bit and focus really on the visual. The screenplay evolves, so you always get new version of it while you're working. I put it on the side usually. Don't look at it. Is that your question? Like, can you repeat it? Maybe I missed something. Yeah. Yeah, usually they have it at the beginning. They have the script, they give me the script when I start. Usually, the script will evolve for sure. You'll have multiple ones. The story will keep going, and but yeah, usually you have it at the start, the screenplay with the dialogues, and but like I said, I don't like to be attached to it, because if I get attached to it, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, that's what they want. They want that. They want the tribe and everything, and until they tell me this is what they need to see, basically, when we start production, then I'm starting to do everything according to the script, but not at the beginning, not too early, not too early. I'd rather stay just with the flavor of the show. Yeah. We good? Okay, so I'm going to kill this one. I'm going to jump a little bit on Kung Fu Panda. And if we need to go back to cruise, we'll do that, but the time is flying. So Kung Fu Panda, I'm not going to talk about a lot of things. There's one specific thing I wanted to tell you about, and it's more like a color script. Kung Fu Panda was an amazing movie. I mean, I loved working on it. I was only on it for about a year and a half, for 2 years. I had to jump on a different show. Someone took over and did an amazing job, like better than what I could have done, So it was good that actually, left this one. I missed it. I loved it, but I think he did an amazing job. So that's that's his style guide, Those are not actually like the pages. They are actually presentation on the wall. So there's a lot of details. I might, again, switch to the exit to zoom in a little bit. But the first thing we did, on Kung Fu Panda was just studying China. What is it about? The architecture, the monument, the history of it, the principle of that country that has, thousands of years of history, and you better understand stuff. Otherwise, you're going to miss it, and you're going to be irreverent and stupid, And it's easy, especially here, not in America. What I mean by that is the older movie from the 50s, they were making mistakes all the time about the culture, If they talk about France, it's going to be like so much cliche of my country, So on this movie, we try to go deeper and try to get, better reference, And so, the production designer went really deep into the architecture, the monument. Let me actually do that because I want to zoom in. All the principles right here, the design philosophy. We didn't go to China. He didn't go to China. Fortunately for me, I did a trip in China because I did a round trip of the world when I was 29, and I was lucky enough to spend 1 month in China. So I had some knowledge of it, but we didn't do a field trip. That doesn't exist anymore. That's old school. Now everything is online and everything. But nonetheless, yeah, they try to, figure out the architecture, the color and everything. So you have a lot of those principles, decorative elements. What do they mean? For the dragon, because the dragon was really relevant for Kung Fu Panda. And studying it, because the dragon in Occident, in Europe, is different from the dragon meaning in China. In China, the dragon is more like I think I wrote it down actually. I think I have something on that. Yeah, it's a combination of dragon iconography for panda was symbol of excellence. In mythology, the bird represents the emotional world, imagination, the dream, the future, and the snake aspect of the dragon is the ground, the pragmatic world, the consciousness. So the combination of those two is the two worlds of consciousness and unconsciousness, So the present and the future as well. So those kind of ideas that can also dictate an idea for the story. By the way, the more you study it, the more it basically nourishes your style guide, Then he did this one. And again, it's a bit too small, to show you the details, but you don't need the details. Started to, again, go deeper into the Guilin Valley. We wanted something misty, but graphic as well. The mist is usually for a movie. We do that a lot. And the meaning of the mist will be like it's unpredictable. You don't know how the movie will evolve and the future of the character. So we like doing that for, a character that will be more younger because you don't know what his future will be. It's unrevealed yet. No. But the most important part right here is this part right here. It's the color of the movie. And so in China, as we know, the color have a different meaning. The white in China is a symbol of death. in Occident is the symbol of marriage, and it's a good color basically. The red in China, is a good color. They get married in red. In Europe, here they will get married in white. So again, if you don't respect that, you're already making mistake with the culture, and you're already fucking around, with it. So you better know what you're doing, and so forth. The gold is the color of excellence, and that's what we used for Kung Fu Panda. Meaning that the color of the panda is actually not black and white, even if this is his color. His real color that you see on the screen is gold. That's his symbolic color, and we use that to heart. So now, I'm going to jump right away right here. So that's the sequence of Tai Lung escaping the prison. Tai Lung is the nemesis in the movie, and is a snow leopard in the Himalayas, so his color is white and blue, meaning he's the bad guy. This is the bad guy color. You build your theme, the same thing you do in music, like Joe's music as a particular, Darth Vader music, for example. Every time you hear it, you know that the force is coming or something, it's the same thing here. Every time you see blue, is the bad color for this movie. We could have set up, different rules, but that's what we decided for this one. Meaning that, everything about the jail, is all about Tai Lung being prisoner at the bottom of the jail right here. Here he's completely at the bottom, and he has to climb up all the different levels, to escape. But everything about that sequence is blue, until basically he escapes and they try to stop him. Here, again, Chinese color, the red is the good color, okay? So the good people are the red. It's red against blue, okay? It's super graphic. You cannot go more graphic than that, you know what I mean? Meaning that those are simple rules, and you stick to it, Again, is Tai Lung on the front is going to, eventually defeat, the army on the front. The army is red. They're holding, those red torches, and is on the cold side is blue. And when Tai Lung defeats everybody and sends the duck away, all the red disappears. The only leftover is the blue. The menace is blue. Okay. Here is a different sequence, where, they learned the village, they learned that Tai Lung has escaped the village, the jail, and they're all freaking out. So they all escape. They all are escaping the village. So they're taking the light away, which is the hub, and you see all of them, leaving the village with basically the hub away, which left Po at the end by himself, only with his light, but it's invaded with that blue color, meaning there's no hope at this point. Okay, the blue color is basically winning the party. And that's Tai Lung visiting Chifu at this point. Everything is in his color again. And as you can see, we try to be really monochromatic. We're not messing around. This is it. That's his color. That's the end of the movie when the battle happened between those two characters. And let me exit like that. I can point that. So as you know, the color of Po is gold, and therefore when he's going to fight against Tai Lung, our palette is going to be gold against blue. And this is it all through the battle. You see the sun right here, it's gold. The shadow, they are blue. They're fighting together. Throughout all the show, battle is, blue. Again, the bridge is blue, the environment is gold. The house is blue. The setting is gold. The battle occurs. Tai Lung is blue. And Po is, lead by a gold color. When he do is kind of skadoosh, whatever, I don't remember. I haven't watched it again. His thing, where is he? Right here. Then this is kind of the end for Tai Lung. Yeah, he's doing it right here. Tai Lung is blue. Pulling the thumb. The valley turns gold. And the movie finishes into the gold color. He won the party. And so again, simple rules, like I said at the beginning, but efficient, And again, the movie was, I think, really striking for that matter. Simple, to understand, a really expressive visual, So they did great, and that rules, goes on and on. Oh yeah. So Shifu, the color of Shifu was green. It was the color for the Jade Palace. So when you go to the Jade, everything is about green color. So Shifu right here, even this color on the shadow, you don't see it really well on the screen because it's not really relevant, but on my screen it's blue. Actually, it's green. Shifu's world, yeah, everything is blue and green. That's Shifu's world. Meaning that at the end, when Po comes to see Shifu and have that kind of really emotional kind of dad and son together, you see Shifu color and Po color, which is gold, together, and the camera pulls out from him. Really graphic, easy to understand. We stick to the game. Panda 2. The color here, of the bad guy is white, right, and red. White and red. This is the rules of the game. Everything about that character is white and red. Then more simple than that. Even the people working for him are white and red. When he does his magic, he's white and red. The end of the movie, they are actually overpowering the city and everything, so everything is red on this point. When he comes, is that kind of color as well. Battles Po. Then when he's almost winning, the sky is actually turning a bit more gold right here. But we kept the color on the crane. Oh no, on the, where is it? Peacock, yeah. I didn't work on the number 2. I only worked on the first one. We kept the color red. That's the stuff, falling into him is still red. And that's the end of the movie. Everything is turning back to gold again. Okay. So you cannot be more simpler than that, And that's what I wanted to show you guys. Like, don't overcomplicate your images, They can be complex within, the details, all the love that you're putting in an image for sure. But, color script and all of that, just go to the point. Cool. So that was my presentation for that particular thing. Okay. How to train your dragons? Yeah, I'm listening. No, so I don't know why he put the red on it. It was decided for that color to go with the peacock. It's stick to it. But I don't know the reason he went for that particular color. I know it was the white was the color of the peacock for sure. It was a white peacock, which makes sense. The red a bit less for sure. But at least if he made a mistake, he made it all along. He stayed with it. Yeah.